So what I wanted to talk about is cybersecurity and people data. And a lot of people think those concepts are pretty far away, but I'd argue they're really close. So as I said before, I ran the product department at Datto, and then I've been at Zorus for 2.5 years, and a lot has happened in those 2.5 years. But not about me, more about Zorus. Zorus was founded in 2017. We have two products: the web filter and the employee engagement. It's agent based, and we service North America. So importantly, like why Zorus? Why Zorus, and what do we do that kind of differentiates from what's out there? And we have a device-based web filtering, and it's just so much easier to configure, and there's a lot more data that you can get from it. And when we talk about data, we talk about people data, and people data is really kind of understanding how do employees use the architecture that the managed service provider has built for clients? So how the client's employees are interacting with that architecture, and that's a really, really important factor in understanding how effective the architecture is, the apps that they've built, and the different environments that these employees are interacting with. And it's also really proactive on a security level, because if you think about the behaviors that you're able to see over time. If you see erratic behavior, that can be a cybersecurity risk. And the fact that you've got that behavior analysis with the content filter means that you can actually create sort of this adaptive internet experience. And that's what we're looking to build and continue to build, is being able to say, tighten up the content filter based on behaviors that you're actually witnessing in real time. And finally, our company is completely channel built, and I'll get into kind of what that really means. But when we talk about this people data, a lot of people think about productivity monitoring, and they get this big brother kind of negative bias in their head. But it's really not about that. It's about the architecture. It's about the environment that these MSPs have created, and what the ultimately the business owner and the decision maker wants to know is, hey, is this effective? You installed all these apps. You've got me using all these different cloud programs. You've got me, doing a whole bunch of different things. And at the QBR, really what you want to explain to them is that it's working or it's not working, and here's what we're going to be doing about it. And so having the data of what the users are doing is really important when you're trying to make an analysis of, hey, is your IT infrastructure effective at, helping their business become more successful? And that includes SaaS app awareness, and also gets MSPs more involved in the project work of moving and installing different apps, SaaS apps. I think that there's right now a bit of a disconnect between the managed service provider market and SaaS applications. I think that there's some shadow IT going on when you've got clients that are buying apps and not even notifying the MSP, and that's a cybersecurity risk, and B, it's just sort of a part of the architecture that's just not being involved with the managed service provider. And you already know when something goes wrong, that the client's going to call the MSP and say, hey, what's going on? And you don't want to answer that phone and be like, I didn't even know you had that app. Like, that's just a terrible interaction between MSP and client. And finally, I really think it is the future of proactive workplace management. Right now, it's so reactive. When an employee doesn't know how to use a SaaS app, they have to raise their hand. And there's so much frustration that happens before that time of them raising the hand. And imagine if the managed service provider can say, hey, you've got one employee that's spending 10 times longer in this HR app, which they should not really need to be spending much time in. Let's do some training. Let's, help this person so that they can do, more of their job more effectively. Channel built is a concept, around saying, hey, we're not just, selling through the channel, but we're actually involving the channel in how we build our products. And something that, we take a lot of pride in is that we actually have an open roadmap. We do roadmap sessions with our partners and even with prospects to just say, hey, when we're building this people data engagement product, we want to do it in the right way. And we want to take feedback and provide transparency into the development process, because it's important that the managed service provider knows what we're doing so that they can effectively communicate with the client. If there's a problem, at least having some answers, and when is it going to get fixed, what's happening, what's going on. I think that's just extremely important, because our partners are essentially putting their name and reputation behind the products that we are building, and so they need to have transparency into that process. And make it as collaborative as possible. And this is really where the breakout room, I always like, we had success last time we did this. I want to do the same exact thing is, hey, give me your input, honest feedback of what's important and how, an engagement product and content filtering, how they work together and how you could see this being effective for you or not, and sort of why. I think that's really the most effective use of the time. It's not a salesy thing. It's about a collaboration there. On the pricing side, so we're per endpoint, 100 seat minimum. We've got a free trial period. We do have NFR licenses available, no contracts. We also offer contract buyouts because we know a lot of our competitors are big into contracts and locking people in for a long period of time, which is not necessarily the most ethical thing in my mind, but that's obviously a personal opinion. And then Bose headphone giveaway. And if you can't make it to the breakout room, if you have any questions, just email sales@zorustech.com, or you can email me directly and I'll route you. I'm McCord@zorustech.com. So thank you and appreciate the time. It's always a pleasure to be here.